Hello, everybody. My name is Dru Rai, and today we will be talking to Mylrea from Arctic Wolf about product and services and his viewpoint on cybersecurity and AI and other tech stuff as of today. So, Michael, welcome.
Drew, it's great to be here.
Michael, tell us, everybody, about the product and services Arctic Wolf offers.
Yeah, so Arctic Wolf is one of the world's largest private cybersecurity companies. We're known to run one of the world's largest commercial security operations centers. And we manage the entire cybersecurity lifecycle for about 11,000 global organizations, primarily small and medium enterprise, but across all critical infrastructure, utilities, you name it.
So, given the size and scale and variety of customers, you must be coming across all kinds of, cybersecurity, I would call trends, like in whether it's a prevention or whether it's attacks. In this world of AI and AI on both sides, prevention and the bad guys also use AI to attack. So tell us, from your vantage point, what are the trends you're seeing? It's like versus yesterday. What's the new in cybersecurity from attack and prevention both?
Yeah, that's a great question because for so many years you'd say different conferences and different public cybersecurity events be like, yeah, it's kind of the same as last year. Something's completely different this year. We're at a inflection point, a cyber inflection point where things are changing so fast. The number of new vulnerabilities has increased 30-40% year over year. The cost to identify and exploit those vulnerabilities is falling exponentially, and so attacks are cheaper. They scale easier, and thus the economics have changed. So everything seems to be changing now. Of course, the core tenets of cybersecurity, confidentiality, integrity, availability remain, but everything seems to be moving really fast. We're at a precipice of change. It's an exciting time to be in the space.
Great. At the same time, when I look at the tools available, obviously they keeps changing. And in this world of AI, you guys have great service, and you use all kinds of products. You're not tied to one or two products. When you look at sort of in general the advent of AI and how you help your clients keep up with whether it's patch management or vulnerability management or open source. I used to love open source. Now I got to worry about oh my God, I don't know, what am I inheriting? How much of already everybody probably knows, all the bad guys have seen this, and maybe they have embedded some bad things, so ready to be exploited. As a kind of a managed services provider for so many clients of so many variety, how do you see your partnership? Who you work with and how they deliver value, because ultimately they are your partner, and you have to ultimately work with them, and sometimes your success can depend on their success or failure. How do you select those partners to make sure you deliver what you need to deliver to your clients?
Yeah, excellent question. I think in an era of AI, just starting out with the first, how AI is changing. When I look at AI at its best is oftentimes not artificial, and it's rarely intelligent. And so in an era of AI cybersecurity, we want to bring together the best of the people, best of process, best of technology, and cover the entire stack. And to do that, to your point, it requires having the best partners, the best tools for the job. And we're really kind of taking a unique approach there, and we're taking a human-augmented approach. So with the world's largest commercial security operations center, or SOC, how can AI help augment and empower the world-class talent that we have in that SOC, the cyber defenders, and then vice versa? How do we marry man and machine? How do we optimize increasingly autonomous human-machine teams? I don't know if that's an answered question.
Well, it's a complicated and evolving area. Even I struggle. The tools are changing. The job of CISO is changing. And you guys being sort of the fully managed shop, I wonder, how do you keep up with partnership, talent, new stuff coming in? Because you're completely dependent on human ability, and ultimately it's a service, but your client expects results. They're depending on you. And they just like, okay, Arctic Wolf will take care of it. So I can sleep well in the night. And I always wonder, it's like you need to be 2 steps ahead of the people because, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
What is it, 2 years or 1.5 when CrowdStrike, released the code, and it was really not cyber incident. It was just a bad code on Microsoft environment. Everything turned blue. I remember, I think it was a Wednesday night or something, and we worked our behind off for next few days because you literally have to touch each server and endpoint to go from the blue screen and run a little small script to bring it back. I don't know what you guys did, but it was a nightmare for a very small, it was not even a cyber incident. Now, when a cybersecurity endpoint company does that, and it became it's like, oh my God, everybody's offline. And is it a cyber attack? Is it a bad patch? But people were offline. I mean, some airlines were lost millions of dollars because people couldn't work. You guys are managed service providers. You depend on somebody like CrowdStrike, and hopefully it doesn't repeat. How do you explain to people in this AI world when we can pass the bug or real or intentional or non-intentional, harmful or not harmful? I always wonder, it's like, how does a managed services company deal with that situation where, you may not have foot in every door, and the people, somebody has to go and touch their laptop to bring it back. How do you deal with that? It's like with that kind of partner and that on the thousands and thousands of clients all over the world.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent use case, and I feel like the question is half the answer. I'd almost like to ask a question back to that, is like, as we add AI increasingly into those critical workflows, are we able to debug and audit the root of failure, what went wrong, and how to fix it?
Yeah, I don't have I still don't have a clear answer from I don't know, is it Microsoft or is it a CrowdStrike, but we'll leave that to that. Coming back to your product and services, right? Can you tell us some of the large-scale services which you guys are, kind of famous for? I know you provide end-to-end. It's like a know-it-all.
Yeah, the entire cybersecurity life cycle, and of course working closely with CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, SentinelOne, Microsoft. They're excellent partners, and then we have our own endpoint solution. We acquired Cylance a little bit over a year ago, and then we manage the full life cycle. So everything. So
let's talk about the endpoint you guys have versus there's a lot of endpoint solution. What's so special about your endpoint solution, better than or different than CrowdStrike, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. And in a world, in an AI cyber world, where every week there's a new highlight or new solution that solves, it's a panacea, it solves all of our cyber problems. A couple of things that I think are very unique. One, we do have that large, very large SOC with human domain experts driving. So that helps create trust in a world where most of these frontier models, if you sit down with the founders and leaders there and ask, do you really understand how they arrive at their conclusion? And can you deterministically, objectively, not only audit, but look under the hood with mechanistic interpretability? If they're telling you the truth, most of them will say, no, we actually can't do that. We're working on that. And so being a large cybersecurity company embedded in critical organizations and systems and networks, that's not an option for us. We have to be able to explain what went wrong, and increasingly we have to be proactive. We've been reactive for the last 2 decades. We need to proactively look at the attack surface. We need to do breach attack simulation. We need to look through the hacker's lens, adversary's lens, and say, not where are there CVEs, where are there gaps in the attack surface, but where are there vulnerabilities that are reachable, exploitable, lack compensating controls, and will most likely be targeted by an adversary and then proactively mitigate, remediate. I think because of our view of the entire stack, because of our human experts, we can uniquely do proactive defense, which in the past was something that, let's shift left, let's get in front of this. It's a nice to have. I think it's imperative today. At the speed AI is operating, we have to be more proactive. And I think Arctic Wolf was going to have a huge advantage in that space.
Yeah, I think you said it right. I think you said it before this conversation that AI is neither artificial nor intelligent, which actually is really cool way to bring everybody back to earth. It's like, there's 95% of the problems are blocking and tackling. Obviously, this tool can help. Let me ask you a question about the attack surface itself. As the world continues to move online and, now we spend more time online than we used to, a few years ago. Pre-pandemic, I think it was like 2.5 hours was the average time. Now it's 5 to 6 hours average time people spend on screen. And that's normal. That means basically we consume more. We go there, whether we do app or whether we read, whether we transact. I don't remember the last time going to bank, to do anything. As the attack surface moves, obviously you serve corporations. You can use humans to do basic, attack surface management or monitoring. Or you can use AI or both. How do you see as the attack surface grows? Obviously, there is a high value at more complicated stuff, and then there is probably low, in the sense, repeatable. Are you seeing that automation of some of the repeatability with the AI so that you can use humans for more complex, more complicated tasks? How do you see you have a managed environment, which is probably the best you can think of, because when I think about even a large environment like state of New York, which I do on day job, you have an even bigger. Your clients, if you add it up, your the amount of endpoints you manage, the amount of attack surface you see, and the data point you have is so humongous that I wonder how you are seeing as a company. It's like, how do I safely put AI to do work and get productivity, for example, and then move my folks to do even more complicated stuff?
Wow, yeah. Those are a lot of unanswered kind of grand challenge questions. I love those. I think like the first one that really resonated with me is we're digitizing and networking all of our critical systems. So all of our critical infrastructure, our transportation, our energy, our voting systems, our defense platforms, weave together information technology and operational technology that a lot of it really was, we were both former GE alum, and so we know a lot of those systems were really never designed to be networked and connected to this wild, wild west of the internet. Not picking on any particular company, but in general, those systems were designed to be reliable and interoperable and connected. That oftentimes is diametrically opposed to being secure, to be private. And so as we connect and kind of digitize our entire critical infrastructure, to your point, the attack surface significantly expands. And there's so many systems that are end-of-life systems that, a patch, as we know, can actually cause more damage than just leaving those systems running. And so how do we keep that continuation of service and providing service for critical energy utilities, hospitals, transport, defense, but also adjust this new kind of changing perimeter and changing attack surface? I think it's a very, very. I think it's unanswered. Yeah,
I just wonder how many endpoints you guys touch as a company, and just to give you some example, in state of New York, we operate joint cybersecurity with 176 entity, including the Big Apple, New York City. Every agency you can imagine, even local FBI. we're collecting approximately 350,000 sys and admin log a minute, and digesting them, and then providing, because you know how it goes. You provide the back, and then there's a lot of alerts, which it's like, oh, don't worry, just ignore it. So why is alert then? Right. How do you process that and give an alert? So we're still we use AI. We use, with our partner. We have everybody from Splunk to Elastic to Palo Alto and so on and so forth. But I still see a lot of unnecessary alert.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, why are we alerting with so much? And then we leave it to each county and each city. It's like, oh, it's now you take action or not, because whatever. Your scale is so huge. The amount of endpoint and the amount of admin and syslog you might be collecting is so big. Like, how do you guys do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you're talking about hundreds of billions of observations a day. You're talking about 11 trillion security observations a week. And so in the past, it was, well, how do you find a needle in a haystack? How do you do that at the tenant level and the fleet level? And what AI has done for us, what it's really unlocked is this ability to operate at a machine scale. We are able to now do so we were able to run various agents, each with their own very specific task, in somewhat of a deterministic way, largely pure Python, SQL query, but using large language models, using the best of frontier AI to orchestrate for contextual reasoning. And so, for example, in the past, again, that was impossible to do. And to your point, it created ticket mills, it created lots of noise, and you just drowned in noise and you didn't have the signal. And so how do you amplify the signal that you actually have using AI? The way we have done it, again, combining the best of people process technology and the best of frontier models is really taking that approach. We're going to use determinism, logic, understand how the agents work, have that indexed, and then we can use the probability of novelty or prevalence in an observation and say, statistically, the math says that's something we should respond to. And then as you layer those statistical aggregates on top of each other, you say, okay, it's a vulnerability in the past, a CVSS 10 score. We need to respond to that. Now we're able to compress the attack surface by saying CVSS score, okay, is that vulnerability on a crown jewel, a critical asset at a critical company? Yes. Is it actually reachable inside the enterprise? Is it exploitable? Is it potentially publicly exposed? Can we see this on Shodan? For each one of those, we're going to add points. And if the points get to a certain risk aggregate level, we're going to prioritize the response to that. So that's kind of where we are now. Increasingly, if we can do that proactively, hey, this is exactly how an adversary is going to break in, how they're going to hack this organization. And you know what? For these 4 or 5 assets, maybe doesn't matter because they're not exploitable. You have a compensating control. But for these ones, it's a really bad day. If we can proactively shift left and proactively defend, I think that's the future. And we're doing a pretty damn good job of that.
All right, I'm going to now shift to adversary in particular. In this age of nation state and state sponsor adversaries who are trying to steal data, cause damage and things like that. You guys operate at such a large scales. What are the trends you're seeing? It's like from sponsored, highly organized, whether it's a nation state or, it has turned into a business now to scamming people. How do you see, from your vantage point?
Yeah, I think each nation state adversary is its own. It has its own tactics, techniques, procedures, some better than others. Some, some of the nation states you see, password spraying, they're very, very loud and noisy, and they're hoping, just to get lucky because we know there is still a lot of unpatched critical systems out there. And eventually, they're playing the numbers game. Other more sophisticated APTs, nation states are, living off the land. They're very, very stealthy. They're hacking legit infrastructure that's very difficult to, that's not, something if you ran an agent through VirusTotal, it's not going to pop as something malicious. It's a healthy endpoint. So you're seeing a lot of different TTP, and the TTP, the adversary is complex. It's nonlinear. It's evolving. They're using a lot more AI. And you're also seeing the other challenge with AI for AI security, right? There's emerging properties of AI that can exploit, as you were alluding to. So the attack surface is changing there too.
Interesting. Michael, what about competition, in this industry? How do you see you and your competitors? Obviously, it's always a competitive landscapes. Like, what does a winner has to do? And if somebody wants to evolve and win this marketplace in this competition when it comes to managed cybersecurity area, like what are the key factors which differentiate one from other?
Oh, that is a great question. I'll start out with just how you build, high performant AI systems. Architecting AI systems, I like to just first take away any AI from the equation and say, how would the world's foremost expert execute this process or task? What tools would they use? What data do they need? And then what process would they follow? And say, hey, is this repetitive? Is it redundant? Is it mundane? It's probably a good use case for automation. Is there a lot of contextual reasoning and boundary conditions and outliers? Is there a heterogeneous data set that's really difficult to ingest? Maybe we're going to want a human in the loop, or we're going to want cognitive load there. And it's like to your earlier question, I think that's unsolved. Like as we add autonomy to security teams, where is the best application of automation at time? I know you've thought about that a lot yourself, and would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think when I see how the landscape is changing, stock market is a big proof of that. The SaaS companies who wrote the software to do a thing, whether it's I do zero trust, or I do network management, or I bring all the data and I have dashboards. I will call them less intelligent software, if I can use the word, where typically you write a software, put on cloud, and then you add features and functionality. You have a lot of releases with new. I think if you step back and study what is an AI has an algorithm, which is an activation function written by a bunch of parameters. It has bias factor added. So let's call it software. That's the software piece. Then there is a data, both input and output. You take the algorithm and what we called pre-train it. So you take the input, it spits out output. We do a reinforced learning. It was like, output is this, and then you adjust the parameter and you try to fit in to the output, not overfit in, but fit in. So this code changes according to the behavior of input and output.
Big time. Yeah.
That means this software is evolving, changing. That's what is called artificial. The new SaaS companies, if they can't write a code which will evolve based on the user and data behavior, they're going to be left behind. And same applies to people. Let's take attack surface management. There was a time when there were people who to collect the files. And there was times like, let's take a look at all the alerts. And there was a time where you just pointed out, like certain alerts, I can assign numbers. And now we have to think about response. This alert doesn't need a response. This alert needs a response, and so on and so forth. We can always have to keep people in the loop. But I see this as a productivity and efficiency gain. And humans are, because our brain is still way more complicated. And all we are doing in AI is mimicking our brain. And I still don't think we fully understand our own brain, to be honest with you. We're just mimicking it. So this is going to be for a while. But back to the evolution, for the industry, managed services, you are a one-stop shop. Client says, look, I don't have time and money. This is way too complicated. Can you please manage it for me? soup to nuts. Here is my environment. Here's my expectation. You bring tools, people, expertise, learning from your other clients. Because whatever happened over there is going to happen over there. It's like we know this in this security world. And I think you guys have such a great advantage of seeing such a large plethora of scenarios.
Thank you.
That if you really apply learning across your clients, everybody gets the benefit. And there is what I call mundane a task, and I'm oversimplifying, and there's complicated tasks. And you just keep your AI to take care of mundane tasks as we go, and then maybe more complex tasks and more complex tasks. And people just are left for the most complicated and most complex, and maybe think in future that how I use this agent to continue, because the attack surface is only going to increase. It's not going to decrease. We all going to be, OT, IT, and all other ITs. It's just going to go more and more and more. So I see Arctic Wolf as is like, 11,000 customers. It's only going to grow. I don't care whether it's a small customer or big customer. I think the problems are same.
Agreed.
And the small,
And
medium
well said,
customer
yeah.
have less resources. So thanks to you guys, they have a place to go.
Thank you so much. I'm going to stick to building AI systems because you pitched my company way better than me. But no, I absolutely would agree with that. And instead of picking on who I like and don't like, I think I shared what makes AI high performant. How do you architect killer AI systems? I think on the downside is I'm seeing a lot of LLM wrappers. And those LLM wrappers, you put a large language model in a critical cyber path for whatever use case. They're not going to scale very well. You're going to get 80, 90% if you're lucky, maybe with some retrieval augmented generation architecture, some scaffolding to help. But you'll never get those boundary conditions, those outliers, that attack surface that our adversaries love to exploit. And so I worry for a number of those companies. I don't think they're going to be around in a year or 2 years from now, max. You really need to still cognitive, load. You need a human in the loop for those critical use cases. And I think we've done a great job for that. I think another differentiator is data. Yes. And in the past, I heard that all the time. I heard we've all heard it. Data is the new gold. It's the new oil. And in the past, I was skeptical of that because I said data is everywhere. But if you have this heterogeneous data set because you're ingesting hundreds of different types of telemetry, it's very difficult to normalize and pre-process and for it to be actionable. We've solved that to date with working closely with our partners at Databricks and AWS. So today, I truly believe our data has moved from what, in the past, very large data sets were saltwater. I say saltwater because the majority of the world's surface is covered by water, but you can only consume like 2% of it. Exactly. Today, we have not only the volume and variety and veracity, we have the quality of data that is rocket fuel for agents. And what that enables us to do is use more deterministic logic and only use frontier models for what they're best at, orchestration, summarizing findings that we can actually audit and go back and, hey, this is what happened. So not only is it faster and more efficient, but it's something that's more trustworthy.
I'm seeing the similar limitations. All these wrappers and APIs and MCIs, whatever we want to call them, open to vulnerabilities, all kinds of stuff.
Time.
I'll give you an example. When we did the New York State, we call it ITS AI Pro, which is a Gemini behind the scene, but it has, you will be shocked and surprised. There was so many open source in it. And when we red team on that thing, we found so many holes and we have to plug it in. Then we added single sign-on. We kind of created like an outpost. So Northeast data center of Google and our private data center, we literally drew a virtual perimeter wall where the users are inside. They give the pre-trained model, and then we reinforce training inside our data center with our own data. So nothing is going out because my biggest fear was, here's the tax return somebody filed in state of New York, and boom, next thing you know, it's floating around. And it took us 9 months, and then we have to train people. You will be surprised that prompt engineering is actually a real training. You got to know how to get the most. Obviously, you also need to know the limitations because. So we are in the middle of probably the largest human training. 133,000 employees.
That's
we are training as we
That's
speak.
amazing.
With help of Innovate US, is a non-profit to help us, and with Google on this side, and we've been in the middle. And we're finding success, but we're also finding limitations. And as long as you understand the limitation, to your point, you know where to use and where not to use. And our principle and philosophy and policy is human in the loop, always, because it's still not as intelligent as we think. And being in the government, we can't allow AI to take a decision on behalf of citizens. It's just not right.
So you have such a unique vantage point on this problem set. Also, like, just circle back with a question. Like, do you feel like you've solved or identified where's the optimal place for a human in the loop for cybersecurity? And if so, I guess how is AI changing that as you go through these trainings and cultural shifts?
Yeah, to be honest with you, AI in cybersecurity is probably the hardest. Than in I just want to summarize my meetings or laws, or I want to find all my contract renewal. It's like in business efficiency area, because you can make a mistake and you can still be fine. In cybersecurity, the score has to be 1.0 always. There's no such thing as going to third base and just coming out with nothing. So we have been actually more careful in cyber. We use all kinds of tools, don't get me wrong, vendors provided, and vendors always oversell. It's like, this can tell you everything,
solve all your cyber problems.
And just between you and I, we don't trust until we verify. Now, I would say that there are a lot of machine learning programs these vendors have written, which makes our life easy. So in old days, we watched the dashboard and we made the decision. Now it's like it does the dashboard, it calculates the risk, and it's like, well, this one you can ignore, but this one you definitely want to check. And this one you want to act. But we are not there yet to let the agent act on behalf. I'm not personally comfortable that agent says, yeah, I find vulnerability, let me patch it. I'm like, wait a minute. Well, let me first talk to what did you find, and why are you patching? And to your point, I mean, patching sounds easy, but it can break the application functionality, let alone security. So it fixes security, but it breaks people's usage. So what's the point?
The cascading downstream impacts of a patch on an end-of-life system,
and that's why we kind of made a lot of changes in cybersecurity. For example, I run the legacy remediation under cybersecurity, but I have to run with my users because they are the one who is using the application. So does it take time? Of course. Is it painful? Absolutely. Can AI help? With a lot of limitations, I would say. I mean, if it can find vulnerability, that'll be great. Can it crawl all over the network and tell me every application problem? I don't think that such AI exists, to be honest with you, because some of the tools I have are really old. I'm still using mainframe. How about that?
Amazing.
Yeah. We're in the middle of a change. Our taxes are still filed on mainframe. But DMV is changing. We just did the release 1, but we're still on a mostly mainframe. So we have a long way to go. But I do have, outside cybersecurity, for example, we are able to reverse engineer some of the mainframe code into a modern, say, AWS on top of, so like, let's run this.
Using LLMs or using, it's amazing.
It's not 100%, but it goes good 60, 70%, and then you have to go and we open source, good and bad. Open source now, all these, you saw the story of Mythos, right? That it can find out all the problems, including open source. And if you're a bad guy, you already know what open source is, and you can put bad things, and you can take full advantage of it. At the same time, open source projects for the last 30 years been very successful. Most of the companies today we know are actually started as open source. But I don't know how in AI world it's going to be a cat and mouse game because we did it with a good intention, but the good intentions are turning bad. At the same time, it's a great way from my vantage point to use taxpayer money because, why spend money where I can save it? At the same time, it has to be secure because I don't have a choice. So yeah, it's a very complicated world. There are hope and then there is scares. Like, well, life has become more complicated. And when I step back, I really like the concept of managed security. I mean, you guys are probably in the forefront because, there are basic blocking and tackling. To be honest with you, that's 80% of our work. We all talk AI a lot, but 85% of my work is very basic. It's the last 15% which actually is more sexy and shiny, so we talk about it.
So true.
But I still don't have we have a long way to go. I think we're just getting started. My 2 cents, not trying to be skeptic, but we have a long way to go to replace humans, or we're just in the middle of enhancing. Right now, these are more like mini-me's, very, very mini-me's who can help few things. We are not there yet. And cybersecurity in my head will always going to be complicated because if you step back and think about this, once upon a time when we didn't have so many systems, physical security was. So guess what we did? We put fences and we hired security guards and we did this with. Well, take a look around you. Now you spend more time online. You do more stuff online. The attack surface continues to grow and grow and grow. And then you got IT and OT. There's no difference. I remember in old days, right? Those, first of all, the analog. And even when they turned digital, they were operating within a little network segmentation was automatically done because they wouldn't go beyond it. Well, now we have to do a network segmentation for sake of classifying and cutting them into pieces. How can AI help? Well, in my mind, it's like if you know where to use it, you'll be fine. But AI is not going to solve your problem. It's going to help you with a lot of stuff, which I will call low value add or redundant stuff or repeatable stuff, productivity and efficiency. But in my head, most of the AI firms are just keeping up. It's like
trying to keep up with the adversary,
just keep
for
up,
sure.
So it's a long way to go. Let's pivot to the personal side of Michael. Michael, how did you end up in Arctic Wolf? Tell me your story from somewhere around high school all the way till here. Like, why Arctic Wolf?
Yeah, always an inquisitive, lifelong learner. I'll kind of jump around a little bit, but joined Arctic Wolf as their first AI technical fellow architect, working with an incredibly talented team. Love my role. Kind of one really kind of important role that kind of shaped my path to this place was working at GE Labs. It was a time where we were first introducing, deep learning neural networks into critical high assurance systems. And so the idea of trust, given an input, here's an expected output. That's essentially your definition of trust. It is an expected outcome. How can we put a deep learning algorithm into a critical energy system or prime mover for most of the world's aviation fleet? The way that you do that is you basically find out what are those boundary conditions, what are those outliers, and you attack and perturb the system because you don't want to just understand when something's being attacked. You want to understand what does normal look like. And if you can understand what normal looks like in a very, very complex world with hundreds of billions of observations, then you can optimize. So you need to be able to do both. And I think that was absolutely, I later got a PhD in applied machine learning and had a lot of different exciting opportunities, but just working with that really talented team was my PhD in the real world. So had a lot of exciting opportunities over the years, worked at a national laboratory, Did a lot of security work for the government over the years. And so lifelong learner and just lucky I found an opportunity at Arctic Wolf. It's been a great ride.
So you are PhD in machine learning?
Yes.
Oh, Lord. I remember some industrial engineer by training, not an IT guy, but around 20 years ago, I remember we were trying to write a linear regression deterministic machine learning program to use the historical sales and trends to project what will be the sales for next year. I remember doing that in GE, and well, in those days we didn't call it AI. We were just calling it, hey, can we write this program? And it's kind of funny that obviously it was not as complex as the transformer-based coding.
It's a lot more difficult.
I was just looking at the amount of parameters we're able to pump.
Yeah.
Billions of parameters. It's no wonder we need a gigantic data center to pump all those things. And NVIDIA is having fun selling all the hardware. So yeah, I admire and respect the researchers because it takes such a long period of time, arduous work to make anything. What are your thoughts on quantum? You think it's getting there? Is it real or is it far, far away? Because I haven't seen any stable model yet.
Yeah, so I'm definitely not a quantum expert, but I think with all emerging technology, we have to prepare for it. Right? We can't wait for all modern encryption to be broken. We're going to have a really, really bad day. What are you seeing from your lens and vantage point? Is that how would you prepare for a post-quantum world as the leader for one of the world's largest enterprises, the state of New York?
I was talking to a couple of researchers. There are a bunch of quantum companies, and they all have sort of a different way of doing it. But in my mind, even Microsoft claimed that it's much more stable. So we'll see if the stability is possible. But it looks like I really see it's going to be a combination of quantum computer, maybe some GPUs, maybe some CPUs. I don't think we are getting away from CPUs anytime soon. It might be able to do a few things, and then the rest of the thing has to be probably given to the CPUs and GPUs to go do it. Because stability, I think, of matter is almost very difficult. I don't know how you're going to maintain electrons, and each one of them are working on the different microscopic things. So somebody is working on electrons, somebody is working on photons, but when that day comes, I have to say I'm scared because it's actually going to solve a lot of problems because it can help create much higher encryption. At the same time, it's also going to break it. Because if you can create one,
then you can
break it. And given in wrong hands, it'll be very interesting. It's no different from cat and mouse game we play today with the bad guys. But I just wonder, current encryption will be gone. If quantum really is real, our 64-bit is just ain't going to fly at all. Or 128 is not going to fly.
What's going to happen first? Mature deployed quantum or sentient AI, general artificial intelligence? Which one do you think we're going to see first? And will we know when that moment arrives? How will we know?
I believe that quantum is going to be first, but it's going to be in a very limited application. Obviously, encryption is the top of the mind. I think the quantum computers are very close to be able to solve a problem, not all the problem. AGI, in my mind, is the reason it's far away is because it's probably going to take bigger quantum computers and graphic memory processing probably is not going to cut it. Plus, I have no idea if we can train non-humans into morals and ethics and what's right and what's wrong, which is an evolving area. Slavery was okay in George Washington days. It's not okay today. But if we teach a model with a input and output to fit in the output, well, it's just going to use the history. So how do we keep up with the morality of human society and have a machine keep up with us, I don't think I'm qualified to even judge that, because it's going to be extremely difficult. I don't know if there will be a robot which can imagine going to Mars. When Elon Musk say, I want to die on Mars, I don't know if robot can say that. I don't know what he meant by I want to die on Mars. Only Elon Musk knows that, because you can make multiple interpretation of that. So I don't know. I do believe that the quantum application is very close in a limited way. But AGI probably is going to need much bigger quantum computers, and GPUs just ain't going to cut it. I mean, we are like not even 1% of AI, let alone AGI. That's what I think. I could be wrong.
I heard the other day that, what if the AI doesn't like us? What if we reach an AGI world, they become sentient, and they don't like humans? I said, this idea, this fear that the robots are coming and they're going to come after us. And I said, well, I think maybe we'll win the war when that happens, but I think we actually lost the first battle. The person will say, well, what are you talking about? Give me an example. How many times are you out? And I'm guilty of this also, but you see a family or set of friends, they're at a table, they should be doing what we're doing, having a conversation, and they're completely heads down into an algorithm, and that algorithm's changing our brains. It's already in our neural networks. I think we've already lost the first battle, and in absence of some regulatory, some regulation, some guardrails, I think things get a lot worse, and it's going to almost be too late. Maybe I'm a pessimist, but I'm seeing that happen. I'd love to see from your lens.
I mean, I think I have a mixed feeling about these things. It's at personal level, the way I learned my stuff, I'm pretty sure it was much easier than my parents did, and my kids are doing. So I feel like, whining and bitching about my parents did. So I feel bad. At the same time, I hope that, like my father and my parents, they're going to do a lot of things with their hand.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can do some, but not all. And that's because I have options.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in old days, take a look at the car engine, even the IC engine, what complicated that was. Now it's like, you don't touch it. You don't open your BMW hood and start monkeying around. You just don't, because you take it because you're not qualified. It's so complex. It's highly engineered. So is it good or is it bad?
Mm-hmm.
But I can read about it, but I can't say, well, these are the parts of the engine which work. And in old days, you can just rip it apart piece by piece and you can just assemble it. Now it's like it's a whole module. You open it and it's over. Warranty is gone, everything is gone. There's no way you can. Our kids are going to be even more advanced. It's like, well, there is no IC engine. It's just a battery.
Mm-hmm.
If the car doesn't work, I don't know what they're going to do.
How to fix it. Mm-hmm.
At the same time, we got to have some faith in the humanity. It's like, well, that society is going to be much advanced. And I think they will probably do things which we couldn't do, which is the relevant AI conversation. At the same time, they probably have less knowledge of elementary stuff. The definition of elementary stuff is funny. What is elementary to me is advanced to my parents. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's changed. It's completely changed.
I do believe that things are going to change. And how do we keep human civilization going? I have faith. I think people will figure it out, the people who are coming. Is it full of risk? Of course it is full of risk. I mean, we learned nuclear energy. Take a look what will happen. It's like, if you drop a bomb, we can just see what happens. But it's one of the cleanest way to create energy. I mean, think about this. I mean, even gunpowder, when it was invented, you can either kill somebody with a gun or you can protect yourself. It works both ways. So what do you do with the robot? Do you use the robot to cure cancer? or do you use the robot to break your leg or take it over? That's going to be. I'm hoping that our future generation will think about the governance and ethics, and maybe there is, as the AGI will come, maybe there will be artificial morality. I don't know. I'm hoping that people will evolve and think about these things. So, well, Michael, thanks for your time. It's wonderful to see you. Good luck with Arctic, and thank you for your service to you on behalf of your customers. I had a wonderful talking to you.
Likewise, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. How many minutes?
50. Yeah, you guys were rocking.
50.